The very last words that my wife ever thought she would hear coming from my lips that night were not words of anger or hate. They were not the words of a man who felt like there was no hope left in the world, and they were not full of the sound of heavy tears. Instead, my voice stayed very, very steady. It was so calm and so quiet that it seemed to make the whole room around us go completely silent. My wife, Emily, was standing right there in the middle of our living room. She had her arms crossed tightly over her chest and a look on her face that made her seem very sure of herself, almost like she had already won a gold medal or a special prize. She looked me right in the eyes with a very cold stare that I had never seen before. She told me that I could beg for her to stay as much as I wanted, but she said she was completely finished with our marriage. Just like that, 12 long years of being a team and building a whole life together were cut down into one short, very painful sentence. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. For a little while, the whole house became very, very quiet. It was a kind of silence that feels heavy. The only thing I could hear was the small sound of the clock on the wall above the fireplace, ticking away the seconds one by one. I stood there and looked at this woman. She was a person I had built my entire world around for over a decade. I thought about all the many times I'd given up my weekends to help her with her projects, all the big jobs and promotions I had passed on so I could stay close and support her, and all the big dreams I had put on hold for our future. I did not yell at her. I did not try to argue or tell her she was wrong. Instead, I simply reached out my hand and grabbed the silver keys to my truck that were sitting right by the front door. I let a very small, sad smile touch my face. I told her that she had made her choice. Then, as I opened the heavy door to leave, I told her goodbye forever. The look of being so sure of herself went away from her face in the blink of an eye. She had expected me to cry and fall apart on the floor, not to be so quiet and strong. She had no clue at all about what was going to happen next. I drove my truck through the quiet, dark streets of the city of Denver. The lights of the city were blurry as I drove past them. I did not have a specific place I was going. I just drove and drove in my head. I kept thinking about every single thing that had happened over the last 6 months. I played the memories over and over like a movie on a screen. Emily had not always been this way. She used to be so warm and so kind. I remembered how she would stay awake very late at night, waiting for me to come home from my long shifts at the office where I work as an engineer. She would ask me all about my day and then tell me every little thing about hers, even the small parts. But then things began to change very slowly, like the seasons changing. She started to act very strange with her phone, hiding the screen and keeping it like it had big secrets inside. She would go out to get coffee with her friends, but she would stay gone for half the day or even longer. She started to cancel the plans we made for the weekends, telling me she was suddenly too tired to do anything at all. Every single time I asked her if there was a problem or if I had done something wrong, she would give me just enough of a smile to make me feel like I was the one who was being crazy. I wanted so badly to believe that she was just feeling a lot of stress from life and work. It felt much easier to trust a woman I loved than to think about the scary truth. I pulled into the parking lot of a small motel to stay for the night. Right then, my phone made a noise. It was a message from a number I did not know. It said that she had not told me the real reason why she wanted to leave me. My heart started beating twice as fast in my chest. I stared at that message for a long time. Finally, I typed back 2 words asking who they were. I saw 3 little dots on my phone screen. They would show up, then go away, then come back again. It felt like a very long time before the answer finally came. The person said they were someone who could not stand to see me be lied to anymore. They said it was not right. A few seconds later, they sent me a street address and told me to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. They told me to come by myself and not to bring anyone else. I hardly slept at all that night in the motel. My brain was moving so fast, thinking of all the things that could be happening. I wondered if this was a mean joke, or if someone was trying to trick me, or maybe it was someone who actually knew why my whole life was falling apart. I felt a mix of fear and a need to know. When the sun finally came up, I drove to that address. It was a small, cozy cafe in the middle of town. As soon as I walked through the door and the little bell rang, a woman who looked to be in her early 30s stood up from a corner table. She asked if my name was Jake, and I told her yes, That is me. She told me her name was Lauren and that she worked with Emily at her office. She put a very thick, heavy folder on the wooden table between us. Then she said something that made my stomach feel like it was turning over. She told me that my wife was not leaving me because she didn't love me anymore. She said Emily was hiding something much bigger than a lost spark. I looked at that folder and felt scared to even touch it. Part of me wanted to run away and pretend I never saw it. But the other part of me needed to know the truth after months of feeling so confused and lonely. Inside that folder, there were many papers and pictures. There were copies of emails and notes from a calendar. My hands were shaking as I turned the pages. There were no pictures of Emily with another man, which is what I had feared. Instead, the papers showed that she had been having lots of secret meetings with lawyers and people who help with money. She had even talked to a person whose job is to spy on people to find out their secrets. I looked at Lauren and could not believe what I was seeing. I asked her what all of this was for and why she was doing it. Lauren told me that Emily had started doing all of this months ago. She was getting ready for a divorce so that I would never see it coming, and so she could take everything. My chest felt very tight, and it was hard to take a deep breath. Lauren explained that Emily had been moving our shared money into a secret bank account that I did not know about. She would meet with these lawyers while she was on her lunch break at work, so I wouldn't suspect anything. She was even planning to sell our house before she even told me she wanted to leave. I could not understand it. Emily was never someone who cared about having lots of money or being greedy. Why would she spend all this time planning a secret escape like a criminal? Lauren then showed me one last paper at the bottom of the pile. It was an email Emily had sent to her lawyer. I had to read it 2 times for it to make any sense. Emily believed that I was the one who was going to leave her. Someone had been sending her fake pictures and fake messages that were made to look like I was seeing another woman from my office. She thought I was the one betraying her. Lauren told me that a man named Brian, who was a manager at Emily's work, had become very close to her after those fake messages started showing up. He told her she needed to protect herself from me. He was the one who told her which lawyer to hire and how to hide the money. He kept telling her every day that I was a person who could not be trusted and that I was planning to hurt her. The more I heard, the more I understood the whole story. Brian was not just being a friend. He was the one making all of Emily's choices for her by using her fear. Lauren said she saw Brian making those fake photos on his computer late one night at work, but she didn't realize what he was doing until later when she heard Emily talking about the divorce. She felt so bad in her heart that she knew she had to tell me the truth. I went home right away and found Emily. She was sitting on the couch and looked very sad and very tired. I did not say a word at first. I just put the folder on the table in front of her. As she looked at the papers, her whole body started to shake. When she saw the fake messages and realized they were the ones Brian had found, she started to cry very hard. She whispered that she thought they were real because Brian said he had proof from a special source. She thought I was just waiting for the right moment to leave her and leave her with nothing. I sat down next to her and asked her why she didn't just talk to me and ask me about it. She said she was too afraid that I would tell her it was all true and her heart would break. We sat there and realized that because we were both so scared, we stopped trusting each other. Someone else had told mean lies, but we were the ones who stopped talking when we needed each other the most. #rebuilding what was broken. The next few months were very hard work for both of us. Emily went into work and told the people in charge what Brian had done. They looked into it and found out he had been making up lies and messing with people's lives on purpose for a long time. He lost his job and was sent away, but that did not fix our hearts right away. It takes a long time to heal. Emily said she was very sorry for believing the lies without asking me first, and I said I was sorry for not talking about why we were growing apart and for being so quiet. We decided to go see a special teacher who helps married people learn how to talk better and how to share their feelings without being afraid. It took a lot of time and many long, hard talks that sometimes made us cry, but we eventually found our way back to being a team again. Looking back on that night in the living room, I remember saying goodbye forever. I really meant it at that moment because I was so hurt, but I learned that the biggest danger to our love wasn't a bad person like Brian. The real danger was the fact that we stopped talking to each other and started thinking the worst of each other in our own heads. We learned that being honest and talking, even when it is scary, is the only way to keep a home happy and safe. We are stronger now than we ever were before because we know that no one can come between us as long as we keep talking.